Hello everyone, Rose here. Do not take my tiredness for my lack of enthusiasm on the topic at hand, which is, I have a deep love for the Old Guard movie, which I have not been shy about on my channel, nor do I know how to shut up about, and I probably never will. That's cool. And so recently, I finally read the graphic novel that the movie adaptation is based on, and I want to talk about both of them. I must state up front, though, that the movie and the graphic novel, they are not for kids, they are not for young teens. The movie is rated R, and I would very much apply that same rating to the graphic novel, so let's respect that. With that in mind, let me jump into my non-spoiler review of the graphic novel, and afterwards I will get into the differences and I think good changes, beneficial changes that were made in the movie. Cool. Now, the graphic novel. It is written by Greg Rucka, and the art is done by, wait, let's get his full name. Can I get it? Oh my gosh, I got it. Okay. Leandro Fernández. There we go. Overall, I think this is well done. I think the story itself is pretty easy to follow. You have a group of people who are kind of effectively immortal. The story takes place in modern times. There are flashbacks to help tell characters' stories, but set in modern times where, you know, shit is just really hard to keep secret, and cue some baddies who find out this secret and they want to exploit this particular secret by just taking any sense of morality and ethics and just tossing it out of the proverbial window, as baddies tend to do. There is a plot twist in the story, but I want you all to read that for yourself. When it comes to the characters, I think some are more fleshed out than others, and I feel like that's probably going to be the nature of graphic novels. Just by design, they don't have the same time as a novel does to really delve deep into a character. So yeah, with that in mind, it didn't really bother me. At the end of the day, I still got to know enough information about these characters that I want to know more about them. I want to continue reading about them, which I can later on. So it's fine, it's a good thing. The story, it also raises questions about mortality and what can you do to live a fulfilling life for you? What does it mean if you have the possibility to live for hundreds of thousands of years? And that's some intimidating but pretty cool things to think about. When it comes to the art, I think it's wonderful. I thought it complemented the story really well. It all felt and looked very energetic and dynamic. And if I knew anything about color theory, then I would probably geek out about that very specific aspect. So because I'm not, I can at least say I think the colors used in here did really well to, you know, set the tone and set for specific moods. Good job. Okay, and that's really all I can say for non-spoilers. It's a solid read from me, for me, and I would give this 4 stars out of 5. And now let's transition over to my thoughts on the graphic novel and the beneficial changes that were made into the movie, which, again, I absolutely adore. And this is where I'm going to get into spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, then this is where you shall, I guess, leave this particular video. You know, go read the stuff, go watch the stuff, and then come back if you want to. I guess I would leave you with, read it. If it appeals to you, definitely watch the movie just on its own. It's a really cool and kick-ass action movie. You got some great acting in there, great directing. It's a good time. And before I truly dive into all of these differences, I really want to point out just a few amazing things that this movie did. 1, it had a romantic gay couple in an action movie. Number 2, it had 2 lead women, one of whom is black, and not once in this action and comic book movie were they ever sexualized. They were allowed to just be complex. amazing and badass individuals. Yes, please. Number 3, this movie was directed and edited by a Black woman. And number 4, I think the story was brilliantly weaved into the action in the movie. The action wasn't there just for the sake of being there and just purely for entertainment. The action as well, it served a purpose. And okay, now there are definitely more things that I could go about, but I just wanted to stick to those few points. Oh, right, and hello, shout out to the brilliant director, Gina Prince, is it Bythewood or Bythewood? I think it's Bythewood. She clearly put so much time, effort, and soul into this movie. Thank you very much, ma'am. And also Greg Rucka, BT Dubs, author of the graphic novel. He is also the screenwriter for the movie, so he clearly got to expand very well on his very own story. And I've narrowed down my list, okay? Because if I allowed myself to just go on, we would be here for an hour. Okay, all of the characters and relationships, they are more fleshed out in this movie. I think in particular the character Niall Freeman and also Joe and Nikki. But first, with Niall Freeman. For her, I liked that she felt more torn about her realization that she is now immortal. In the graphic novel, she just kind of went along with everything without too much thought really given to what she would have to give up, in particular her family. And so overall, I just felt that Niall in the movie, she had more agency. Joe and Nikki. Okay. First of all, I love them, Your Honor. The dedication that Luca Marinelli and Marwan Kenzari had for their respective characters and for the relationships that those characters had in the movie, it just fills me with utter joy, and I could see that in their acting and also just watching a ton of behind the scenes stuff, but stay focused. I got a much better sense of who Joe is in the movie, more than I did in the graphic novel. And you know, I think Luca Marinelli, I think he said it well. Joe in the movie is very much a sort of rumpled professor, but also a reluctant warrior, and if that got too excited, almost knocked over my microphone. And if that just doesn't encompass who Joe is, particularly in the movie, I don't know what does. Anyways, in small and big ways, we really got to see just how deep and loving and devoted that Joe and Nikki are to each other. I do think the graphic novel was successful in this regard, but again, the movie just had more time to really show us, I think in particular, just how dang soft these two are for each other. My entire heart, I love them a normal amount, it's fine. Booker's character, okay. I thought that in the movie, his character was just crafted better. I feel like especially how his story was laid out in the movie, I just enjoyed it better, and it created, suspense and all of that. And as well, I think to be clearer, in particular, it portrayed his depression very clearly and very well. And plus, Matthias, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, the actor who plays Booker, fantastic job. I particularly enjoyed just seeing how torn up Booker is throughout the movie, and especially when it came to that particular moment in that particular scene where you can see Booker think, oh, I fucked up. Yeah, my depressed French man, you really did. Moving on. Copley. Far more interesting in the movie. They actually gave him a compelling and sympathetic background story, whereas in the graphic novel, he didn't have that. He was honestly just kind of more one-dimensional, so big improvement there. To briefly elaborate on this, Copley in the movie had a wife who died because of the disease called ALS. He thought the Immortals' genetics could help future people like his wife from dying. Copley in the comics did not have this sympathetic backstory. And Oh, one of my favorite aspects, the found family dynamic, I think was done really well in the movie. There was just a lot more warmth to them, especially compared to the graphic novel. In the graphic novel, at least to me, they kind of came across as more close friends, yes, kind of antagonistic close friends, but I'm such a sucker, okay, for found family tropes. And so that's why I just absolutely loved how they played that out, how they acted that out in the movie. Okay, moving on. Here is a massive difference. Andy, in the movie, she becomes mortal, whereas in the graphic novel, even by the end of it, she remains immortal. It raises the stakes, especially in the movie, and I think it was such a smart choice because, for one thing, in the movie, it just helps drive home the point that even these amazing human beings, they will not be immortal forever because eventually everything dies. The movie also, verbally and non-verbally, it touched on and explored the idea of if you live this long and if you kill for this long and this many people throughout your very long life, what kind of psychological and emotional toll would that take on someone? I don't think that in the graphic novel it ever, if even a little bit, touched on that, so that was it was really interesting, and I liked that. Okay, this is where I'm cutting myself off because, again, if I just let myself go on and on, we would be here for an hour. I honestly wouldn't mind that, but I don't know, self-restraint and all that good stuff. In conclusion, I recommend the graphic novel and the movie, obviously, if you are of age, of course. And if you've already read the graphic novel or if you've watched the movie and you want to talk about it, hello? Okay, cool. What is my voice doing? Excitement. Let's talk about that nicely and pleasantly in the comments down below. Wow, I'm getting like misty-eyed. What the fudge? Thank you all. I'm concluding this movie. I'm concluding this video now. I need to, clearly. Thank you all so much for watching. Please take care, everyone. Like and subscribe if that feels right to you. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.